felt like someone was watching me. All of a sudden, something hit me. I know what I'm seeing is not possible. It felt like my heart was coming out of my chest. It was just beating so loud. I was so frightened.
I hear this panting, as if he was gonna rip my head off. It was just the most threatening tone I've ever heard. It's right behind me.
I could see a man. I knew that what I saw was real, and I knew that he was really there. I was just paralyzed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's gonna kill me because I'm the only one awake looking at him.
We opened the door. There are these two floating orbs. They were just kind of hovering and kind of staring at us. We thought it was the end of the world.
I don't know how long I stood there frozen, but the next thing I remember is that everything was in my suitcase and I was running down the hallway and just running out. Several years ago, I'd just come off my MTV role, and I was working for ESPN at the time. I was going around the country interviewing, these superstar players, so I was as happy as I could be. This one time I was sent to San Diego for Monday Night Football. And they put me up at the Del Coronado Hotel. It was supposed to be really, really fantastic. I go to the hotel. I was very impressed. It was just beautiful, like going back in time. I checked in and I decided to go and have a cup of tea. So I went into the restaurant area and I sat down. And it was pretty dead, not many people in there. I looked across the room and I noticed all the way at the back of the dining area, I saw a woman just sitting there by herself. She looked like she was from another century. Even though she was far away, I could see the black dress with kind of the waistcoat pinched in, with the sleeves, with the frill. It was very old-fashioned. It seemed like she wanted to be left alone. A little while later, I finish my tea and I walk out the dining room. As I walk down the hallway, I felt like someone was watching me. I got to some stairs. Then all of a sudden, something hit me. An emotion came all over me. This emotion was so powerful. I just started crying. There was a sadness, like somebody had died. Just something horrible had happened and I could feel it. It just didn't make any sense to me. I got into my room. I just wasn't feeling like myself. I was quite uncomfortable. Something spooked me. And I didn't know what it was. And I just thought, I'm gonna go to sleep. I left the light on and got into bed. And eventually I fall asleep. A few hours later, I was being woken up by music. And the music got louder and louder, and I can hear it all around the room. As I sat up, the light flickered. Then it went off. So now I'm in the dark. And all of a sudden, at the end of my bed, I saw a shape of two people. They were twirling and twirling around, and they were dancing. And her arm was around him, and so I could see the lace sleeve and the cuff. It was the woman that I had seen downstairs. I know what I'm seeing is not possible. It felt like my heart was coming out of my chest. It was just beating so loud. And I just said, go away. Go away. Go away. And as I said, go away, they started to dissolve. And then it was all quiet. There was just complete silence. I was so frightened. I was so frightened. I just wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of the bed. I wanted to get out of the room. I got up. I put the light on, and I started packing. And then I heard giggling. So I turned round. I heard giggling. So I turned round. And that's when I saw the two of them again. I was terrified. All of a sudden, he disappeared, and she was left alone, just standing there. And she started looking around herself and screaming, Tom, Tom, Tom. And then all of a sudden, she looked straight at me and collapsed. And she then just disappeared. I grabbed my bag. I ran down the stairs, out the hotel, and into the taxi that was there. When I was in the taxi on the way to the airport, I started to calm down. It was as if I was leaving behind a whole nother world. But I couldn't really work it out. What had just happened to me? So I asked from a friend who had stayed at the hotel before about the Del Coronado, and she explained to me that the hotel was haunted. And she told me the story about Kate and Tom. Late in the 1800s, Kate and Tom were supposed to meet in San Diego at the Del Coronado Hotel. Apparently, Kate had gone to the hotel and she was waiting for Tom. And Tom never showed up. Kate was so saddened that her lover had disappeared that she shot herself. The hotel staff found her shot in the head on the steps, the very steps where I actually sat down and cried. Since then, she has been seen wandering around the Del Coronado. It's quite sad being pulled apart and disappearing from life altogether. And what I know now that I didn't know before is that there must be something out there, whether you're fortunate enough to see them or not. And it basically leaves me in awe of everything that goes on in this world.
I'm not afraid of anything, but if I can't see you, I can't fight you, I can't do anything, it's out of my hands. You have too much power, and that scares me. About a year ago, I decided to renovate my home. I had to look for a place to stay while we were renovating. And then I find a beautiful home, and it was for rent. And it was so cheap. I mean, the price was just ridiculous. The first night that I slept in the house, I had a horrendous dream. I'm walking up the stairs, and all of a sudden, I get this really, really, really scared feeling. I turn, look down the hallway, and my heart stops. Because there was a really big guy looking at me. He was very scary looking, and he looked angry. I was shaking because he was huge, and I had no idea why he was there. And he just looked me dead in my eye, and he said, "This is my home." This is my home. And all of a sudden, I just woke up. I was sweating, and I was really, really scared. But I was just relieved that it was just a dream. And I relaxed, and I went to sleep. The next day, I drop my kids off to school, I come home. I have a lot of work to do. I was just trying to stop thinking about the dream. But I can't get this guy out of my head because he really did scare me a lot. That night, I put the kids to sleep, and then I lay my head on the pillow. So I go to sleep, and again, I go right into a dream. I'm walking up the stairs again, and I hear this panting, like really deep, awful panting. And I see the biggest dog. The dog was panting and showing me his teeth as if he was gonna rip my head off. And standing next to the dog is the guy again, staring at me like I'm the intruder. And I have no business being there. And his dog felt the same way. He did not like me. I woke up so afraid. At this point, I want to leave. Even though this is a dream, this is 2 nights in a row, and it's the same person. It was making me nervous, really nervous. The next day, I needed to get out of the house. So I take my daughters out for the day, and we were out all day. We were exhausted. We're on our way home, and we're just having a good time. I'm walking up the stairs with my daughters, and I open the door. And this is what I hear. Woo! It was just so deep and so loud. It sounded like a humongous dog. I was really scared, but I didn't want to show my kids I was afraid. But my oldest daughter, Aaliyah, she's like,
Mommy, there's something in the house.
Mommy, something's in our house. It was clear as day it was from inside the house, but I'm thinking of every excuse possible. And I just said, Aaliyah, maybe it was the neighbor's dog. So we went inside. I went and I looked through the whole house. I looked everywhere. There was nothing in the house, and it was fine. Once my kids fell asleep, I went downstairs, and I was in the kitchen doing work. And all of a sudden, above me, I hear boom, boom, boom. It's clear as day. It's coming from my room. The noise was so loud, it was like someone purposely was stomping his feet. I grabbed a knife. So I walked up the stairs. All of a sudden, I hear panting. The panting is so heavy and so loud. This is real life. I'm not dreaming. I walked up the stairs. And it stopped. And I was really, really nervous. It was so quiet and so silent. But I could hear myself breathing really loud because I was really scared. Now I have to walk through the hallway to get to the bedroom. I open the door slowly. I walk in the room, I see everything's fine. I can't figure out how or what made the noise in the bedroom. All of a sudden, I hear panting. It's right behind me. The panting is so heavy and so loud. This is real life. I'm not dreaming. And I just turn around and I see the same guy right next to his dog. And he tells me, "This is my home." This is my home. It was just the most threatening tone I've ever heard. He was ready to make his move. I had to get out of there. So I ran. I pick up my daughters and I said, "You have to get up. We're gonna go to Nana's house." And I drove all the way to my mother's. The following day, as soon as I woke up, I was like, I need to pack my stuff and get out of that house. So I went to the house and started packing.
Drita!
And the neighbor next to me was like, "What's going on? Are you leaving?"
Deal with this house?
And I told her, I said, "Look, I don't know what's the deal with this house, but I really had a really bad experience." And I told her what happened.
You told me to get out of here.
When I told her, she freaked out.
I can't believe what you're telling me.
She goes, "I can't even believe what you're telling me." She said, "Drita, there was a big guy that used to live there, and he had a humongous black dog." She told me the guy was just not a friendly man, and no one really spoke to him. The rumor has it that that man was actually mistreating that dog very badly. And one day, the dog turned on him. She's like, they both died. I feel that they were holding on to the house. They really didn't want to leave, and they didn't want anyone else there. If you want to truly believe these things don't exist, you can make yourself believe they don't exist. But I've had my experience with it, and I'm good.
This is my home.
I looked at him to try to understand or maybe communicate or figure out, what was going on. I mean, I couldn't even scream. One of my earliest memories is of my 3rd birthday. It was a very exciting day, and one of the last presents I opened was from my dad. I unwrapped it, and it was this really awesome teddy bear. And it was weird because as I opened the gift, my dad was so sad when he was looking at me. I didn't understand why. The party wasn't quite over. And I remember my dad walked up to the door and looking at me. And then he drove off. And that was the last day I ever saw him. My father never came back. Not that it was any consolation, but I did find a lot of comfort in having this teddy bear because it was one of the few things I had of my father's. Being that my dad left on my birthday, I guess my mom thought in some small way she needed to make every birthday cheerful and memorable. So for my 7th birthday, my aunt and my mother and I went up to Lake George, which is a very popular family destination spot in upstate New York. You know, we pull up to the motel, and it's kind of exciting because I'd never stayed in a hotel or motel or anything at that point. The guy who checked us in seemed like, you know, but he's definitely been there probably since it had opened. And he was kind of telling us a little bit about just nearby attractions, good places to eat. And I could see there was a pool.
Be careful around the pool, okay? It's swim at your own risk. We don't have a lifeguard.
And then he got real somber and said, but please be careful around the pool. There's no lifeguard on duty, so, you know, you are swimming at your own risk. Just be careful with the kids. We walk up to our motel room. We had a double room and unpacked. It was really cool. Of course, I had my teddy bear with me. And we go out and have a great dinner, get back to the hotel room, really excited for the next day. I was in bed. My aunt and my mom are sitting up talking, having late night girl chat. And I was pretending to be asleep. And the bathroom light was on. It flickered a little bit. My aunt and my mom continued their conversation. And a few moments later, I saw a figure of a man slowly pass from one side of the bathroom doorway to the other. I saw a figure of a man slowly pass from one side of the bathroom doorway to the other. I'm trying to rationalize what this is. And then my mom saw it. She let out this like scream. My aunt turns, catches the tail end of it, screams. My mom grabs me and yanks me out of the hotel room. We went to the front desk. My mother said, we think there's a man in our room. We need someone to come check it out. Please, we're really freaked out. So this front desk man walks us back to our motel room. Looks in the shower. Looked under my bed. There's no one in the room. So this front desk man leaves. My mom was really freaked out. And so she left to talk to the man at the front desk. A couple moments later, she comes back, and she's really worked up. She starts, you know, whispering to my aunt, and I can kind of make out a little bit of what she's talking about.
We should just leave right now.
She's like, maybe we should just leave now. But my aunt told my mother, let's just spend the night here. We'll pack now, and we'll leave first thing in the morning. So my mom and my aunt pack all the bags. Everything's packed except for my teddy bear, which I'm clutching. So we all get into bed, fall asleep, and somewhere around, I would imagine 3 in the morning, I kind of woke up. I felt like there weren't just 3 of us in the room. So I slowly turned over, slowly opened one eye. I could see a man sitting in this chair, looking at me. I was just paralyzed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's gonna kill me because I'm the only one awake looking at him. He looked at me so calmly, and he didn't speak, and he was so still. And the more I looked at him, the more I felt calm. The more I felt like he wasn't there to harm me. But I couldn't figure out what he wanted. And once I got over my initial fear, I just reached out and offered him my teddy bear. And for which he just kind of looked at me and was like, and it was a kind of peace that I hadn't felt since my dad left. And I'm clutching my teddy bear, and then I just fall asleep. Around 5, 6 in the morning, I was woken up by my mom picking me up in my PJs out of bed. It was time to go. The sun was just barely up, and they wanted nothing to do with this motel anymore. I knew it couldn't have been a dream. I knew that what I saw was real, and I knew that he was really there. But what I was left with was, well, who was this guy? Years later, my mom and I got into talking about that time at Lake George. And, you know, I finally told her that I had seen a man in the corner of the room watching us. And she was like, well, I didn't want to tell you when you were a kid, but when I went downstairs, the front desk man told me many years ago there was a family who had come to stay at this motel. It was a mom, a dad, and their 7-year-old son.
Dad, watch me dive into the pool.
And the little boy, shouted, Daddy, watch me dive into the pool.
Dad, look, I'm gonna dive into the pool.
Okay, son. Ellen?
And he dived right in and hit his head. The father did everything he could. But the little boy was dead. The father was just devastated. They say that he would come back every year for, years. Basically, his whole life, he never got over the loss of his son. One year, he stopped coming. And that was the year that people started seeing the figure of this man. When I think back to it now, I think maybe he picked up on my energy of wanting to have had a father. And it almost felt like he was the spirit who hadn't moved on because he was missing his son. So in some small way, it was like our energies were connected because I needed a dad and he needed a son. I think we helped each other.
In the 30-odd years that I've had to kind of live with this, it gives me a really, really warm feeling about humanity, and also about once we leave this particular realm, that there are other places to explore. My grandparents on my dad's side, they were lovely people. They lived in Buffalo, New York, and my twin brother Kelly and I, we would go see them at the same time every summer. We would go for 2 weeks, and it was just this wonderful time. My grandparents were real characters. My grandpa just would smile and tell jokes and would kind of come home with White Castle hamburgers, which, God, I loved. My grandmother would just feed us Oreos, and she would make zucchini bread from a vegetable garden in the backyard. They were very loving grandparents. When I was 9, my grandma was diagnosed with terminal cancer. My grandpa was very stressed out by this, obviously. And a week after the diagnosis, he actually died of a massive heart attack. When we got the news, it was very shocking, and it kind of blindsided us. And then 2 months later, my grandma passed away. So we were just pretty much devastated by it. We thought it was the end of the world. Kelly and I were not allowed to go to their funerals. My parents just didn't think that we were old enough or ready to deal with death. So we were never able to say goodbye to my grandparents. A few months after my grandparents had passed away, it was Sunday night, and we had just finished dinner. Kelly and I were watching our favorite TV show. And we were instructed to go upstairs and take a shower and get ready for bed. And we always showered in my parents' bathroom in their bedroom. So finally a commercial came on, and we wanted to get upstairs as quickly as possible so we can continue watching our show. And so we walk out into the hallway just outside of our kitchen, and we turn on the hallway light because we're terrified of the dark. And it doesn't turn on. So we're like, all right, whatever. There's another light switch about probably 6 feet away from that light switch that turns on the light in the stairwell to go upstairs. So we get to that light. And that one doesn't turn on, which we thought was strange. Because like this had never happened before where just lights were not working. So we decided to kind of forge through. And we hit the top of the landing where there's a light switch, and we flick that one on. And nothing, there's no light at all. Now we're just freaked out. We very bravely walk in the dark to my parents' door, which is closed. And we open the door as quickly as possible so that we can turn that light on so we can just not be in the dark anymore. We just want light, that's all we want at this point. So we get to that light switch. And that one doesn't turn on either. At that exact moment, I look, and there are these 2 floating orbs in the corner of my mom and my dad's room. They were just kind of hovering and kind of staring at us. And then Kelly and I looked at each other and then realized that we were terrified. We just ran downstairs and told our parents what happened, but they didn't really take it too seriously. I do recall them saying, go upstairs and take a shower. When we went back upstairs again, the lights turned on, but there was nothing in there. So after we had taken our shower, we were in our bunk beds, and we were just kind of looked at each other like, what was that? What just happened? And I think, the best thing for me that happened was having Kelly there with me, because there was somebody to corroborate what I had just seen. So I didn't feel like I was crazy. After the initial shock had worn off, I came to the conclusion that the lights were my grandparents saying goodbye and allowing Kelly and I to see them one last time, which felt wonderful. I feel blessed to have seen that. It was really, really a wonderful event that happened in my life that I would not trade for anything.